Hello and welcome to the Slackware ARM vlog. In this episode we're following on from the previous one where I'd installed Marvin, which is a RockPro64 from Pine64 in the NAS case. And this machine is destined to become my home router or home NAT gateway. And I installed it as the primary build machine for the Slackware ARch64 port. Because that way I can soak test it, put it through its paces, make sure that the thing is stable before I put it into production as my home gateway. Particularly when you work remotely, you need your internet connection to be stable. So I need to make sure this thing is stable before I do that. So I set it up to become the master build machine, and I built the latest batch of packages and all was well. When I went to check on it later in the evening, I found that the CPU fan had stopped. The machine was still running fine and everything was fine. It wasn't particularly hot either, but it had stopped spinning. So I logged into it to try and kickstart it again, as you saw me do in the previous video. But it just wouldn't budge. It's not because the fan is broken or anything. It's just I don't know what the problem is, to be honest. I should probably start looking into it. If you guys have an idea, let me know on the forum or in the comments, and that'd be great. So I started looking into the LM Sensors package to see if I could set it up properly within software, but I really don't have time to spend doing that right now. And given that this is going to be at least temporarily a build machine and subsequently will be my NAT gateway, I want to have the fan on full power. So what I'm going to do is hardwire this fan to run at full speed, which means wiring it up to a 12 volts DC input. Again, if you guys figure out a better way of controlling the fan from software that's reliable, let me know on the forum, and I'd like to blend that into the project, because that would be preferable, of course. But in my case, all of my other build machines, my other two RockPro64s that are the build machines, they have a hardwired fan at 12 volts. During the bootstrapping phase of the 64-bit ARM port, so ARch64, in series 2 I created a video walking you through how I'd set up the RockPro64 with regards to power, because my other build machines run off of ATX, what I call bench supplies. Well, I call them bench supplies because other people call them bench supplies, but they're actually just the PSUs taken from x86 cases, so PC cases, and I've just chopped them up and wired them up. And that's because of the issues I used to have with 32-bit ARM boards. So the way I've done it there is I've hardwired the fan to a 12-volt pin out from the PSU, and also I powered the SATA drive from the ATX PSU as well. So I'm now going to wire this up to 12 volts. But the thing is that I don't have a 12-volt output on this machine, on the RockPro64. So the fan itself, this is from Pine64's website, and it cost a few dollars. The fan itself seems to be fine. When I was making the previous video, I touched the RockPro64 to just move it on the desk slightly, and the fan stopped. So it's very sensitive to lateral movement. But other than that, it works fine. I've got the same fan on the other two build machines, and they've been running now for almost 2 years, running at 12 volts on full whack. So I'm quite happy with that. So yeah, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to move this fan to run off of 12 volts. Here's the issue. The only 12 volt DC output on this board is from the fan socket into which I've got it currently connected, and this is where the voltage output from here is controlled in software. So this presents a slight challenge in that where do I obtain 12 volts from? Because if you look at, in fact, let's have a look at the pinout. Let's Google RockPro64 pinout, and we'll go to the RockPro64 wiki. Click on that. Oh, that's it. Yeah. Okay. So I can probably make this a little bit bigger for your benefit. And I think down here somewhere we have the pin out. So you've got this image here with all of the major components numbered. And if we have a look at them, so blah, 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 R2C and power, okay, we don't need any of that. Now, so if we get to pin 23, you'll see that it's a DC out for the SATA disk cable. Now, the thing is that if you look here, this is port, number 23 on the diagram is this here, which is the SATA disk power output. So you can see that I've got that connected up. So that's already occupied. Doesn't mean we can't use it, but it's already occupied. And then 24 is the power input, which is 12 volts, 3 amps. Now the thing is that 24 is this, which is the power in. Okay, and there's no way of, you know, if you can, you should be able to see, but down the bottom there's no, I don't have a light here. Maybe that helps a little bit. But there's no anyway, just trust me, there's no way of me, you know, connecting anything to the actual input like that. Okay, so we can't use those. And then if we scroll down a little bit, that's basically it. So that leaves us with the GPIO pins. And the GPIO pins are here. So this array of pins here. And this is, so currently I've only used the UART pins for the USB to serial adapter. Okay, so those are those. Now, if you look though, you'll see that we only have 3.3 volts and 5 volts available to us. There is no 12 volt pin out. So the thing is that to run this fan at full speed, I need 12 volts. It is a 12 volt fan. I've confirmed that by looking at the specs on the Pine64 website. So it is a 12 volt fan. It's capable of being powered at 12 volts, and that's full speed. There's nothing on the board that provides us with the 12 volts. That gave me another idea. I could chop up the SATA cable here. This is just a power cable. It's not the data cable is this one here from the SATA controller. But the power is here. So I thought, okay, well, it says on the website in this table, it says that the DC out for the SATA cable is a direct connect from DC in. So I thought, well, in that case, it means that it's 12 volts. So I should be able to you know, tap into this cable by chopping it up and soldering on some extra, soldering the fan wire into it. However, if you Google slimline SATA pin out, you'll see, let's see, pin out guide, that'll do. You'll see that the only power that is provided with for slimline SATA is 5 volts. Okay, so yeah, I mean, so obviously there's a resistor somewhere on the board that's reducing it from 12 volts to 5 volts. And if you look at the spec of the SSD is a 5 volt 1 amp SSD. So clearly it's not being provided 12 volts, because if it were, it would be broken pretty quickly. So that means that I can't tap into the SATA cable either. So that leaves me with another option. But before we look at that option, I'm going to show you how you can hardwire your fan. So if you want to hardwire your fan to be permanently on, there are two options. You can run it from a 3 volt line or a 5 volt line. And all that means is that the fan will just run more slowly. But again, because this isn't commensurate with the workload, it's just, you know, a hardwired fan speed, then there is a danger that if you work your RockPro64 hard, it will overheat, and you know, if you overheat these things, they will become damaged over time. So again, for me, I'll be hardwiring it to 12 volts shortly, but I'll show you how you can hardwire yours. I'll just show you the 5 volt option, but again, you could pick 3 volts. So what we need to do here is, you'll see For the USB to serial adapter, I've used these 3 pins here, and I'm occupying pin, which one is it? 6? Yeah, so I'm using pin 6, which is the ground cable. Now, because of the way that if you look at the fan head, you'll see that the connector head, oh no, it's not, it's actually separate. Oh, okay. I thought this was a, actually, hang on a minute. I think this is a brand new fan from Pine64 from the website. Okay, so you've got the you've got the heat transfer pad and the fan, and these fans come with a single connector head. Okay, like that. Due to the physical location of the GPIO pins, this has to sit next to each other like that. So I was going to move the ground pin from here, which is easy enough to do, and just pick it off and put it on another pin. But as you can see on the fan cable here, this was, I've already chopped it up like last year. So this is already a bit of a you know, homegrown hack job here. But again, that's because when I originally was going to wire these up, I was going to wire it into an ATX bench supply, but I've decided to go to wire it up to the fan for this time. So yeah, this is how they normally come. You'd have to plug it onto 2 adjacent pins. Let's have a look at how we can do that now. I'll show you the fan connected to the 5-volt output here. So I'll pick pins 4 and 6. So this was Muttley. I did a video on the death of Muttley, I think back in series 2, when I was still in the early stages of the ARch64 porting phase. And Muttley still works. You can still turn him on. He still boots, and he'll boot into the installer, but I think his RAM went bad. He's still useful for certain things, so I've kept him around. So Muttley's still useful for running some rudimentary tests and doing this kind of stuff. So I'm going to show you how this would work on Muttley. So this is the brand new fan as it comes, without my hacking job on there. And if you remember the pin out, the 5-volt pin is pin number, let's refer to it, pin number 4, which, don't know if you can really see that, but trust me, it's this one here. So it's the second one in. So that's the 5-volt pin out. So I need to connect the red coloured wire to the 5-volt line, because that's the positive, and the black is the ground. I mean, to be honest, I haven't actually tested that, I haven't confirmed that, but that's typically the industry standard, is black is ground and red is positive. So I'm going to just push these onto here. Because I have the USB to serial adapter, it's going to be a little bit of a tight push, but it does fit. Squeeze it on like that. Okay. Yeah, so it's a bit of a tight squeeze. I mean, if you're using a serial to USB adapter as well, perhaps you might want to do what I've done, which is chop off the ends here and solder some DuPont heads on instead, or connectors on instead. But there we go. So just to prove how it works though, so okay, we've got that there, and I just need to put that there, power on. Hopefully that should power on. So let's go. Find the end. There it is. So when I have these, you know, when they're not in a case and the base is touching stuff, I just put them on a rubber mat so that it's non-conductive. It also doubles as a mat for my mugs, but yeah, so that's non-conductive. Right, so I'll turn it round. So I've got that right. Okay, let's power that on. See? So you can see now that the fan, hopefully you can see that, the fan is spinning. Okay? So that's how you can do it if you want to hardwire your fan. And you can, I mean, you probably can see the microphone. Yeah, the microphone is right here, and it's barely audible. I can feel that it's blowing some cool air there. But yeah, so this is running off the 5-volt line. You could also run it off the 3-volt. To be honest, I wouldn't recommend it, given how quiet this is. If you want to hardwire it, wire it onto the 5-volt. But again, if you're going to do it like this, you should keep an eye on the temperature of your sock, the CPU, to make sure it doesn't overheat. But so this is how you could do it, but I want mine wired to 12 volts. So let's disconnect that. Okay, the other thing I'll just finally show you is that you can see that I have moved the ground pin for the USB to serial adapter onto pin number 9. So it was on pin number 6, but it's now on pin number 9 because there is a number of different ground pins here. So this is the closest one that the cable reaches to. So and then they're nicely clustered together. So if you do want to hardwire your fan to 5 volts and you've got a USB to serial adapter, you can just move the ground cable to pin 9 instead, and that will be fine. So that leaves us still with the unanswered question of from where can we draw 12 volts to power our fan at full speed? Now, this is the power adapter for the RockPro64. This is the one that you can buy from the Pine64 website. So this outputs 12 volts because the RockPro64 conveniently runs on 12 volts DC. So I had this cunning idea that given that there's nowhere on the board from where I can draw 12 volts, why don't I just splice the fan into the input power instead? Now, I'm not suggesting that you do this at home. You'd certainly invalidate any warranty that you may have on this. But if you're comfortable with this kind of thing, then it might be something that you want to do. I did also consider powering it from one of the 12 volt lines on the two ATX bench supplies that powers the other two RockPro64 builder machines. But I would rather they were kept separate, actually, because it makes really, for practical reasons, if I need to take an entire machine away for maintenance or something, then it would affect an unrelated machine. So I'd rather just keep everything separate. It's just easier that way. So, and given that I want to, for this particular machine, I want to move away from the ATX bench supply and just use this because there's less stuff on the shelf, and I don't have any spare ATX bench supplies that I can carve up. So yeah. So we're going to chop up this and power it from that. Okay, so we have our power supply. I've just put it on top of a magazine to stop any solder that I'm going to do damaging the table. So what I'm going to do here is get my wire cutters and cut round about, because it's going to plug into the board like that, and I just need to kind of leave enough space on here in case I get it wrong. Because sometimes I'll strip the wire and it'll just strip it, it'll cut through the actual core, and then I've got a problem. So I'm going to leave myself enough room and just cut it here instead. That's probably a bit excessive. Yeah, cut it about here and that will do. First of all, I don't recommend doing this, so there's the warning stated. Also, if you are going to do this, ensure that the blue light, the LED here, is extinguished, because these contain capacitors. So in other words, when you disconnect it from the mains power, it will still contain power, and you could shock yourself. So don't do that. So make sure that that LED is extinguished, okay? And now, let the butchery begin. So, that'll do, chop. Okay, we're committed now. This has to work. So I'll start with the connector end. So I'm just going to strip it down. You can see, I'm happy already. I don't know if you can really see that or not, but the cores are quite separate, okay? So that means that it's going to be easier to do this. Sometimes they're kind of really thin. The cores are really thin and makes it more difficult. But okay, let's dispose of that. So, oh yeah, so I've just made a little nick on the ground cable there, but it's fine. I haven't sheared it off or anything. It's fine. I'll just cover that over with some PVC electrical tape. Okay, so just quickly be careful with these. There we go. used to do wire stripping with my teeth when I was a kid. If they're thin like the other cable, some of the cables, it's okay actually, but if they're not, then you just hurt your teeth. So wouldn't recommend doing that. Right, so twist those around like that so they're easier to wire onto the other side, and then again do the same thing with the other end. So I'll pick leave a good amount of wire here. There we go. 2 in one go. Right. Twist those around like that. Okay. I need to remove the fan from Marvin because I need to wire him up to the new line. So I think you just push them down. Oh, do I have to? Oh no, do I have to remove? I think I do, don't I? Yeah. So I actually have to remove the RockPro64 from the case because the fan, the way it hooks in is that underneath the fan has its little legs that go through the holes, and then they sort of clamp onto the reverse of, or the underneath of the board to hold it in place. So I can't remove the fan without actually removing the main board from the NAS case. Okay, so again, this is not plugged into anything, so I'll just remove the SATA card. That, disconnect the data cable. Like that. Put him over there. This really helps when you've got magnetic screwdrivers. If you don't have a magnetic screwdriver, just get a screwdriver and then find yourself a magnet and just wipe it over the magnet numerous times, and you'll find that quite quickly it becomes magnetized. It's still catching on something actually. What is it catching on? Oh, I don't know. I'm just going to. So okay. So basically, the easiest thing is just force the sides apart like that. There we go. And then I just need to give myself a bit of slack on the USB to SATA cable there, like that. Okay, cool. So, I don't know if you can see, but I've now exposed the base sufficiently that I can remove the fan. So, yeah, just, at least I hope so anyway. Yeah, there we go. Just gently touch the fans, the little legs of the fan with I'm just literally squeezing them with my fingers. I have removed the fan. So what I'm going to do now is just put it back. I don't need access to the base of the RockPro64 board anymore, because once you slide the fan over the top, you just push it into place. So now I'm just going to screw the board back into the case. So we've got that job done. And again, this is where the magnetic screwdrivers really come into play. But just be cognizant of the fact that it is magnetic if you are using magnetic screwdrivers, because you need to be really careful that you don't touch anything other than the head of the screw, because you will damage the electronics. I mean, I can't imagine how you do this without using a magnetic screwdriver, to tell you the truth. You know, it'd be really difficult. So that's the board screw back in. Okay, and I just need to reseat the SATA controller. That's it. Plug that into whichever. Probably SATA. No, it doesn't really matter which one it's plugged into, to be honest. Right. Okay, so the SATA controller is reseated and the drive is reseated. Okay, so that's all good. just need to put the screw back in that one. Okay, so I now have the fan from Marvin, the RockPro64, and I'm going to undo this hack job that I did, I don't know, like probably 2 years ago already. Crikey, there's a bit of an excess of PVC electrical tape on here, isn't there? Good God. So I've managed to remove the copious amounts of PVC tape from there. Okay, so I now need to unsolder these two here. So I've separated the two wires and separated the cable here a little bit more so it's easier to work on. And now I need to extend these, I need to basically extend these here so that I can run them outside of the case. So what I'm using here is just some old Ethernet cable. Okay, so I've stripped down two of the Ethernet wires. Unfortunately, I don't have a black and a red. I've just got a black and a white. So I'd like to match the colours if I can, but well, such is life. But at least I can match the black to the black. So I'm just going to solder these. So I've stripped these back quite considerably because what I'm going to do is use these sheaths. These what you do is you slide these over, you solder it together and you slide them back over the top. Then you apply a little heat and they just conform to the wires underneath. And this makes it it just looks nicer. So let's solder up the black wire. Okay, so that is now soldered on. So now I just need to fold that over. So now I just need to slide the protective sleeve over that, like that. Now I need to solder up the other cable. So sleeve on first, and then we solder it up. Okay, that's that one done. And again, just fold it flat and slide the sleeve over the top. Okay. Right, now we need to deal with the other ends and then solder those onto here. What we need to do now is just seal these, and that's these sheaths, and that's done by simply just applying a little bit of heat to them like that without burning them. Oops, I burnt that one, slightly scorched it, but it's fine. A bit too close to the cable there. So yeah, I scorched the blue one a little bit, but it's fine. It won't have damaged anything underneath. Okay, so these two are now, this side is complete. Now on the other end, what I decided to do for the sake of future maintenance, I decided not to solder them and put a sheath over them. I've actually connected them into a terminal block. If I need to separate the power supply from the machine, I can do that far more easily and readily because I can just unscrew this and just pull them out. So yeah, that's how I've done that. Okay, so that's all done. So we've got the power supply. Let's disentangle this here. Right, so we've got the power supply, and on the end of it is now, we've spliced in the fan directly to it. So let's just test it works before connecting it up. Power this on. Oh yeah, there we go. So perfect, it works. Fan running on 12 volts at full speed. Now this is what I mean. So you can see there's residual energy in the power supply because I unplugged it and the fan kept spinning. So that's what I meant about being, if you ever do something like this, just check that the LED isn't illuminated on the PSU. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove the SATA board. It's not currently the RockPro64 is not turned on, and what I'm going to do is just put the fan, push it through here, because there's a space between, there's a gap between the holding bracket and the case, so there's actually enough space to run these little wires through. So I'm going to put that through there. Again, before you do this, make sure that you check the heatsink transfer pad, because this has collected itself a bit of gunk, particularly electrically conductible gunk, like bits of the bits of wire. So make sure, I mean, actually ideally I'd replace this, but I don't think I'm not going to. So I'll reinsert the fan. And just push them in like that. Done. That's the fan. Just pull the cables for the fan, make them taut like that, and then just reinsert the SATA card. Like that. I think that's it properly. Yep, you see, so there's quite a gap actually between here, so do it like that. Then just re-screw the SATA controller back into place. Okay, so here's the finished article. So you have the power supply, we spliced into it here with a terminal block to make it easy if we want to disconnect this power supply in the future. And then we've just run the fan wires through the gap between the bracket for the SATA controller and the case. So that's easy enough. I did briefly consider drilling yet another hole, but I was like, oh, had enough of that. And look, there is it's quite a nice sized gap there for those tiny cables. And then there we go, and we've got the fan power cables just running over here. So we're ready to return to production. Okay, so it's time to return Marvin to be with his friends, some of the other build machines. It's still a bit of a mess here. I haven't really had time to tidy this stuff up. I do have plans, but yeah, it's more about time and priority than anything else. So here's Marvin, and we're going to plug in the USB-C to Ethernet dongle. We're also going to connect his USB to serial converter into the Slackware 15.0 build machine. Now I really do need to tidy this stuff up, but yeah, in due course. Okay, so now that's connected up. If we have a look at the 15.0 builder machine, do demessage tail. Okay, cool. We can see that the USB to serial converter is connected. So this is cat / proc device tree / module. So you can see this is the Orange Pi Plus 2E, which is my primary build machine for Slackware 15 ARM. So eventually Marvin will not be sitting on here actually, but so I've got the power plugged in like this, so you can see at the back the power is plugged in, and the only thing remaining to do, I think, the only thing remaining to do is to connect the power to the PSU. So you can see the power fan spinning, and what we'll do now is screen-RD. Oh, okay, let's see if we can see what's on the serial console. Perfect. So this is Marvin booting. Cool. So we now have Marvin with his fan running off of 12 volts that we've spliced directly from the power in from the PSU. So now I'm confident that I can leave Marvin running, safe in the knowledge that he won't overheat. But again, if you guys figure out a reliable way to control the RockPro64 fan from software, do let me know on the forum or in the comments, and I'd love to blend that into the OS. But for now, I think we can call this episode a day. And again, thanks for all your support. Please remember to donate to the project if you enjoy what we're doing here, because this project relies entirely on your support. So take care, and I'll see you in the next episode.